Record. Okay, our meeting is being recorded. Um, I am happy to let people into the room, so we will have our friends joining us as we go along. And if you want to, in the chat, let us know if you've gone anywhere fun in the last year. I was thinking back to last month. I was getting ready to take a little vacation, a little long weekend trip to Galena, Illinois, which was a whole bunch of fun. It was nice and close, and I got to be alone with my family in an Airbnb, which was really fun. So safe and close. Philadelphia, one of my favorite cities, Andrea. I love it. I love it. So feel free to let us know if you've gone anywhere fun or if you're planning on going someplace fun. Um, we're here for it. Even if you have a dream vacation too, since I know we're still staying pretty close to home. So I'm going to jump in just with the items that I wanted to point out. We won't go into any of these in very much detail, but I don't know how many of you saw, um, but um, Philadelphia is really walkable. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I love it so much. And
It was sort of like a
Schaumburg,
mini Manhattan. Wouldn't you agree in a
what
way?
what's that?
Sort of like a mini Manhattan.
It is a mini Manhattan.
So much to do, so many historical things, the
His
water. It was nice.
historic. I love all the rivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a river rat, so I love the three rivers coming. I think it's three rivers in Philadelphia. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, as I have been today. The DPI just released yesterday a program tracker that I have linked in the notes and in the agenda too for today's meeting. The tracker, the intent is to help you keep track of all of the programs that you hold for 2022 for children of all ages and for adults too. I haven't looked at it very much, but it looks really great. The DPI has updated some of the language in the annual report in regards to the definitions for the types of programs that libraries are reporting on. So they have an update on what those definitions are. I'm going to take a look at it later this week and see, if there's any tips. So if any of you play around with it, we can fill everybody in on it at the next month's meeting. But I love it. I love things like this because it helps us keep track of things so that when you and your directors work an annual report next February, you can easily plug this information in. So it's there. It's brand new. I've barely had time to look at it, but it's something that I wanted to draw your attention to. Has anybody looked at it? Marty sent it out to us yesterday, and I was preparing for a presentation, so I haven't had a lot of time to look at it. Okay, anything about annual report? Any other questions? We're going to jump into then just a discussion or announcements about books. I want to remind you that the CCBC Choices is available as an online resource only this year, and that I've linked to it in our agenda. We've just held the two best of CCBC Choices webinars at the end of March and in early April. Those are linked into the agenda too. So we've recorded those and we have those resources are linked for you. I updated the book list webinars for this month. There's actually a really good one happening right now that will be recorded about social emotional learning. So that one will be recorded and available on the book list website. But there are tons of um, other programs coming up this year, and I just updated the agenda to reflect April um, books. Also, item number 2 under online publisher reviews is that I want to remind you that I am still looking for homes, and I haven't sent a ton of books out yet, of the 2020 and 2021 review copies that I receive here at South Central. Some of you may have received books, but if you've already submitted the form, know that books will be coming your way, and feel free to submit it again if you're not sure if you submitted it. So as a reminder, these review copies are books that some publishers send me. Not all publishers send me copy of pre-pub books. They are the complete hardcover edition of books. I have some ARCs that I sometimes pop into those boxes as well. And I want to get those out into libraries because the 2022 books are coming in. So you can use those books in any ways that you see fit other than selling them or donating them to your friends to sell. We want to get them into the hands of kids, whether that's through your collections or using them as summer library program incentives or giveaways or other program giveaways. I pulled a few books that I thought might be great for the coming summer library program for the theme, for the water theme. So the first books I have are some picture books, and I'll just show you what those look like right here. The first book is Duck, Duck, Moose. And there's a couple of books by that same title in our catalog, but this is a brand new one called Duck, Duck, Moose. And it is by words and pictures are by Mary Sullivan. And I chose this one because there's a lot of water animals in this book, and it's very silly and very funny, and it might be great for your story times for programs this summer. The other book is, or another book is Here Comes the Ocean. And this is a nice oversized picture book by Meg Fleming, illustrated by Paola Zacchini, and a quieter picture book than the first one, but lots of big, bright illustrations um, that depict animals that live in the sea and the beach, and a little boy exploring the beach and exploring the seaside. I thought that would be a great one for programming for the summer. Um, it could be worse. I think this one came out in 2020. No, this was a 2021 book. Sorry about that. Another super funny book that is set on the high seas, couple of characters, very conversational. I love this page. So there's, references to sea creatures and sea mythology. And once again, a nice oversized book that would be great for sharing. And then I don't think I mentioned this one, but there's a sequel to Una, the mermaid picture book that came out a few years ago. This one is Una and the Shark. And not only would it be a great display book because it's so attractive, this is published earlier this year. But like the first book, very brief conversational text, and would be a very fun book for programs. A couple of books for older readers. These are all novels. The Circus at the End of the Sea, fantasy. a lot of libraries have these books, but just so they might be in your collections. You may have ordered them last year. Of course, Rick Riordan, Daughter of the Deep. This is one that I just discovered this morning on my shelf, Orphans of the Tide. Another young adult, I would say young adult, older elementary school novel. And then told from the whale's point of view, A Whale of the Wild. And this one came out in 2020. So I've listed all of these books in today's agenda and the notes. You might want to consider adding them to displays this summer or adding them to your list. So what are you all reading? What are you excited about? Anything new? I'm hoping Nicole's getting something. You're my reader's advisor.
Well, I always have a book on hand. You know that.
I know you do.
I'm excited. Well,
Oh,
I'm getting close to being done. This is Gallant, the newest by V.E. Schwab. And I just love her as an author. So it's creepy, it's lovely. I think it was described as The Secret Garden meets Crimson Peak.
somebody just recommended that to me last week by V.E. Schwab. Okay, I'll put that in our notes. Anyone else? I'm finally reading The Firekeeper's Daughter, which I love.
I'm listening to it right now too.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and read it because it's due in 2 days and there's holds on it. And I feel very guilty if I would keep it from somebody who is needing it right now. Oh, Andrea.
Okay, this is neither a kid's book nor fiction. It's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And I started following this gal on Instagram because I liked, as she calls them, her nuggets. Her first name is Nedra Nuggets. Anyway, this was is a great book. I mean, it has some very just some list ideas as well as more chunks of content. But if you know anybody who needs to set boundaries, whether that be a kid or a grown-up, I'd recommend it. or refresh their boundaries.
That's like a good book club book for those of us who are going into summer library program time or any time. Catherine read The Last Cronista. I love it. I know Mary from Stoughton mentioned it during our last meeting. Yes, Mary loved it. I'm going to add that to our notes. That was one that I was wondering if we wanted to talk about as a group sometime.
I would love that.
Yeah. Okay. I will make a note of that. And Mary. And of course, that was this year's Newbery Award-winning book, which will be presented in June. And the last 2 years, ALA has aired those. We have been able to virtually attend those speeches, which I think is one of the best things they've ever done. It's very equitable and very inclusive, and I'm glad that they're doing that. Anything else you want to recommend? have so many stacks at home. I have some of the same stacks I had of March of 2020, so I'm catching up. I'm always bringing books home and reading a song called Home by Sarah Zarr. You know, somebody else recommended that one too. Thanks, Jess. And then Anne, welcome, Anne Vickman, who is the new head of youth services at the Portage Public Library. Anne, we're glad that you're here. Here are some of your great colleagues, people who are smart and wise and caring and giving. We're glad that you've joined us. And Anne is responding to Mary regarding making jelly bean taste kits. So good ideas to share. All right, do I have everybody's book? I'll check in. Add whatever you're reading at any time to the notes, that's fine. I want to remind you that I am working with my colleague here, Tracy Miller, to constantly update intellectual freedom services and programs that we can do, how we can support you. We had a webinar just over a month ago on March 17th. We had an archived webinar that I've linked to the agenda and into the notes that Tracy and I presented about intellectual services in general and what we're doing to support you. I can say that in the last few weeks, we've been helping libraries look at their collection development policies, talk about policies, look at language, and make some recommendations of parts that they might want to strengthen or update. Everybody's policies have looked really great that we've looked at, and we are thinking about having a time when folks can get together and talk about their intellectual freedom and collection development policies. So stay tuned for that. There also is WLA has a roundtable, an intellectual freedom roundtable, or interest group, I'm sorry. And I will send you all information about how to get active with that. They have had monthly Zoom meetings for librarians from across the state to get together and talk about their thoughts about intellectual freedom and concerns. And it's been really, really eye-opening for me. It's not only public librarians who attend these meetings, but academic librarians, library board members, directors, and other library supporters are participating in these meetings. And some really cool projects are coming out of it, such as some WLA session proposals, ideas for sharing our resources. And it's exciting to see Wisconsin librarians come together and really create this grassroots project. Okay. Oh, and we have some more books in the chat. I'll make sure I add those to our list. Thank you, Patty. Anything about intellectual freedom? Any questions or thoughts, concerns, things you're thinking about? So a lot going on. We're here to support you and to help you should you receive any challenges. I'm the first person to contact, and Tracy Miller and I are happy to help you and your colleagues talk about these issues. We've had a really busy month with continuing education. I have linked all of our archived webinars at the bottom of the agenda and of the notes. Last week, we had a really fabulous webinar with Kelsey Bogan from Maryland. And she talked about some teen and tween programs and projects. She really got a lot into an hour time, her hour time frame. And it really is, as I was listening, I thought this is an example of how to do a really great webinar about program ideas. So if you haven't listened in or watched it, take a listen when you have some time at the desk and want to keep your hands busy and want something to work on. It was a really fabulous webinar. We also have had the two great books from CCBC Choices in March and April. So those are the 1 hour webinars that highlight the materials, some materials that were included in the 2022 CCBC Choices, which is available online to everyone for free. And it certainly isn't every book, but it's the highlights of the books that are included in this year's edition of Choices. We also have the CCBC Shorts webinars. Those are 30-minute webinars, and we have one again tomorrow. So tomorrow morning from 9 to 9:30, there is a CCBC Shorts webinar that you can listen into. And these are just short little webinars that we focus on different topics or new books that the CCBC librarians want to draw our attention to. We have the last CCBC Shorts of the spring season is May 18th. And I have information about how to register for both of those CCBC choices in today's agenda meeting notes. And then talking about other youth services meetings. We have our final youth services meeting for the spring season scheduled for May 24th. And that Zoom link is in the agenda, and I'll be sending information out about that link. It'll be the right link in May and after this meeting. Those are the things that are on my mind. The other, I don't have it here. I do. The other thing that I want you all to know is that Beanstack is having 2 webinars. They're having one tomorrow at 3 o'clock, which is, ideas and updates about what might be new for Beanstack coming up for 2022. And then a week from today at 2 o'clock, there is a refresher course or a webinar for beginners, for people who haven't used Beanstack before to keep track of summer library program signups and programs and other record keeping. So those programs are going to be recorded and they'll be available to view as an archived recording, as well as you're welcome to participate live tomorrow and next Tuesday. Thank you, Andrea, for starting our conversation about summer library program. Andrea asks, is everyone using Beanstack exclusively this summer? I'll open the conversation up to everybody while I clean up the notes.
I guess I'm curious in that I don't feel like we had the best participation with Beanstack either summer. And so we decided to make a paper version so that maybe we could recoup our losses. So I'm curious to know what other people are doing.
We're doing the same thing, but I think we hope to have everything at the end logged through Beanstack, so our statistics will all come out of that. So our hope is that we can still get patrons to log everything and maybe just use the paper to keep track along the way. We'll see.
We had gone super simple. with ours, we really pared things down after Marge Lock Waters presented to us about summer at Oldbrook not too long ago. Pre-pandemic, it was a long time ago. Never mind. Anyway,
Lifetime ago.
yeah. So we were just simply keeping track of how many people took the forms and then how many people technically completed. So I don't know, I guess I'm not sure what to do. How similar to make them, or to make, try to figure out a way to make, well, I guess I'll look at that form from DPI to see what they're asking. That'll drive how we collect the data, of course. That makes sense.
Yeah, good idea. I'm looking in the chat. There's a great deal of people who are doing both paper and Beanstack this year. In Portage, Anne is only doing paper. I think that was you, right? And yeah, paper, miss face-to-face interaction with the kids with Beanstack. In Reedsburg, Jess, I don't know if you want to say any more about registering, is that the paper registrations as offline readers?
Yeah, so Beanstack has a feature. I don't know if you can hear me.
Now we can hear you even better. Thank
Okay,
you.
awesome. So Beanstack has a feature where you can enter readers as offline readers, and our adult services librarian has done that the past 2 summers, and so I had her coach me on how to do that. So that hopefully we can figure out a system so that way we're tracking all in one place on Beanstack, like Nicole had said, so that the stats are all in one place.
Yeah.
Even if patrons are choosing just to use paper. So
Thank you.
We had even eliminated registering people. So I guess for me, it's the lesser of evils here, how I need to make that work.
Is anybody from Madison here today? I don't see anybody. They made, really big changes to their summer library program last year where, they didn't register anybody either. Might be a good conversation to have at the end of this summer while everything's fresh in our minds.
Well, we tried to take to heart that idea of why collect data that you don't do anything with. And I thought that made sense. We didn't do anything with the people, the names and things we collected to register. So I don't know. I don't know where I fall.
Yeah.
Andrea, what do you do about stats? If you don't do any registration, do you just count the finished ones that get turned in?
We number the paper forms.
Yeah.
And just calculate how many went out. And then calculate how, and then of course, keep track of those that finish it and actually bring us a finished product. But even that, we just did a tally marks.
Mm-hmm.
I will update everybody on incentives. We are printing incentives and getting incentives counted, and they will be going out very soon. A big discussion that Deb Hefner and I had just right before our meeting today was our printing costs have gone up 3 times, 300% for the incentives that we print here. And we're thinking that next year when we work with the incentive providers, we are either going to ask them to print everything on their own and then send them to us for distribution, or ask for a monetary contribution to have their passes and have all of their coupons printed. So yeah, we're looking at probably around $1,000 for printing costs for coupons alone, which is so much more than what we used to pay. It's a service and we want to help, we're supporting libraries, but just to give you that update, that's a conversation we'll be having with the incentive providers. And we've had a lot of conversations. I've had a few conversations with incentive providers who have asked me why they can't provide coupons for half off of a child's entry, for example. And I explained to them that this really is an issue of equity and that there are concerns about incentives being completely equitable even to begin with for all children, knowing that not all families can afford to pay the adult fee to enter a ballpark or to enter any of the other places that we have available. So I'm constantly doing education with them, and this year we had a few hiccups because they're back from COVID too, and we're getting everything still ironed out, but Heidi is collecting and we are getting those incentives out just as soon as we're able to. Anything else about summer? Remember that you do have youth services literacy support money from South Central. And Anne, I'll make sure you know how much your library has. Others who are on the meeting, it's the same amount as you had in 2021. The sooner you spend the money, the better. We're going to be really firm this year in that all requests for reimbursement need to be sent to Heidi by the end of November. By Andrea, by the end of November. So I'll be sending out a few reminders, but we really want that money has to be spent this year. Sometimes we're able to, or the reimbursement forms have to be submitted this year. Sometimes we can play around a little bit and get something in early January, but not this year. All right. Anything else? Bye, Catherine. Anything that you want to share or discuss or ask? We have another check-in meeting coming up on May 18th. Make sure I have my dates right. Excuse me, May 24th. BC Choices is May 18th. So we'll have another meeting on May 24th. That will be what I'm thinking is the last meeting before summer begins. Unless we want to meet in summer, that's fine. Happy to set those up. And we have the webinars coming up this month, CCBC webinars, and I'm always available to pull together another Zoom check-in meeting if a topic comes up that people want to discuss with one another. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Please let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you. If anything comes up, I'm here. I can connect you with others. And thanks for being a highlight of my month. I really enjoy and appreciate these meetings. And I hope you're all doing well.